Let's say I had the opportunity to talk to my younger self, to give him a few advice on how to practice better, to get where I am today a lot faster. So, what would I tell him? That's the big question we're going to be answering in this video. So, since I didn't have a guide, I was practicing all over the place, doing all kinds of different things without, structure. So, here's how I would practice. I would split my practice sessions into four categories. Right, category number one, I would have technique. Forgive my handwriting. Number two, I would have vocabulary. Number three, I would have ear training. And number four, I would have creativity, which is probably the part that I focused not enough in my practice sessions. So here's what I would focus on for different categories. Technique, I would focus on exercises kind of like handing, that build your speed, your finger accuracy, your finger strength, right? You probably see me do a lot of these exercises on my live streams, which, by the way, I encourage you to follow, to come join. Um, I'm probably gonna try to do them around 5 p.m. Every time I get a chance. So I can't guarantee that I'm gonna be doing them every day, but when I'm gonna be doing them, I'm probably gonna schedule them ahead of time so you know. So this is this kind of exercise. What this does is usually when you're gonna start exercises like this, first you're gonna be figuring out the notes, right? You're gonna be going to super slow, right? And then once you know the notes, what you would be focusing on is playing it clean, right? That's the most important thing because it's a lot more important than playing it fast, right? Because remember, you're practicing technique, you're developing your technique. And the main thing about technique, the main goal is to play clean, right? So the speed just comes with time. So as you practice it, let's say you have a metronome. Um, so at first, let's say you're doing that for the first time. I would start with a 50 beats per minute metronome. And let's say you're just doing just one note per beat. So it would go like super slow, right? Very slow. And then once you know the notes, you don't have to focus on every single note as much. Your next goal would be to play it as clean as possible. Because, the thing I've realized practicing at Hanon, it's very hard to use the wrong fingering and keep playing because if you do the wrong fingering you're probably gonna get lost, right? And also, like, it's built for developing technique. Anything you do wrong is gonna throw you off and you're probably gonna get lost anyway. And one of the things my students struggle a lot is timing, right? That's the best kind of exercise you can use to perfect your timing. For example, if I have this, right? That was off. Starting from the second note, it was already off. That's off. It has to fall with the beat. Like, that's proper timing, right? And then once you get comfortable at 50, you take it up to 60, right? And so on and so forth. And then once you get it to a certain speed, like let's say 100, 120, now instead of doing just one note per beat, you can start doing two notes per beat, right? Especially for the two notes, that's when your time is gonna fall off probably. So it's very important for you to focus on every single beat to make sure that you have the timing properly. Not or sometimes some students they don't even, it almost feels like they're not even listening to the metronome. It's going, they're supposed to go pa 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 pa. But in reality, they're going. That's completely off, right? That's why this exercise is very good when it comes to developing timing, to clean up your timing and clean up your fingering too. Clean up. I don't even know how much this thing has helped me, because even playing my chords, it helped me a lot. Developing my technique overall playing. So, and then once you get it that to a certain speed, like let's say 100, 120, now you can do four notes per beat, which would sound more like one, two, three, four, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm playing four notes for every single beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So, and then you would get that as fast as you can, but not suddenly. This is the kind of exercise that if you just starting out with working on your technique, it may take you several weeks or months before you can actually go past lesson one, right? Because the goal of the thing is not just to know the notes. It's not a song. It's an exercise, right? You could just pick just one exercise and practice that for the rest of your life. There's no reason to rush it. You're not gonna get a medal once you finish the book, right? Nobody's gonna give you a medal. The whole point of it is to help you clean up your technique, develop your technique. So there's no reason to rush it, right? Um, and then once you get it perfectly clean, the timing clean, the notes clean, right? You can start. I'm not super comfortable with that yet. That's lesson 11, but I'm gonna give it a shot at 100. So 1, 2, 3. That's not clean. The timing is okay, but it's not super clean. But it's just to give you an idea. Actually, my top speed um on lesson 10, it was 140, just to give you an idea. So that's just 100, and you see how fast it is. So that's and when I'm listening to my students playing these things like fast, it just gives me a level of satisfaction, and I'm not just looking at them playing it, but it just shows me the potential. Because one thing is, with that kind of of accuracy, finger accuracy, and that kind of technique. A lot of the runs, one thing I've noticed about myself once I started practicing those, a lot of the runs that were a very fast, that seemed hard at first, they became a lot easier. I started doing like Corey Henry runs, doing, you know, gospel creole, some kind of runs they be doing in those songs. I started learning those, and I was actually proud of myself for a second. I mean, hey, but that's the point. When you develop your technique, a lot of the things that seemed hard at some point, they become easy, right? And that's just one way to practice your technique. There's plenty different exercises depending on exactly what you're trying to develop in your technique. Um, there are different exercises, and it's up to you to figure out what kind of books you purchase. This book is called Hanen, by the way. So it's up to you depending on what you want to develop, to know what kind of book to get. Now, without spending too much time on that, the next part is a very exciting part, but actually a very boring part. Also, just one more book, because I guess technique is also boring to practice. Listen, practicing is not always fun, right? A lot of the time it's super boring. So vocabulary is the next one. So how do you practice your vocabulary? What do I mean by vocabulary? Vocabulary, I mean scales and chords, right? These are the foundational units that you're gonna need to play anything, right? You're gonna need the scale to know the structure of your melody and of your progressions, and you're gonna need to know your chords to actually play harmonies. Duh, right? So, first and most important scale, major scale. Major scales are very underrated. I see a lot of people, rushing, just to say, I know this and that scale, trying to practice minor scales, blues scales, pentatonic scales, pentatonic is kind of major too, depending on what you do. And trying to practice modes, Phrygian, Lydian, just to say, I know this, I know that. But a lot of the time, a lot of these scales, you almost never use them. You almost never use them, especially if you're a church musician, right? Which means focus on your major chords, get them right. Then if you want to further your horizon later on, trying to do jazz or different genres, okay, then learn those different scales, right? The 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 the, the there are some scales that you're gonna use a few times, but there are no other scales that you're gonna use as much as major scale. Meaning, no matter how many scales you know, if you don't know and master your major scales, you're done. Okay? So, major scales, what does it sound like? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Even a baby in the mother's womb knows that sound. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And then it's easy. There's a Creole version that goes Do, re, mi, fa, sil, tan, kout, lo. Sil, te, fa, sil, tout moun ta fel. What does that mean? Do, re, mi is easier as drinking water, but going down it says, if it was that easy, everybody would do it. So that's the thing. It sounds easy, but it's actually not, right? Not only the fingering, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, right? At first, a lot of students struggle with the passing because, mind you, you're playing plenty of notes and you only have one finger. Oh, well, you only have 5 fingers, so you can't just go like this. That's why you do those passings. So the whole thing can sound as if you had unlimited fingers, right? So it doesn't sound like, right? It's not jumping, it's a passing. Okay, now the left hand, I'm gonna do the exact opposite. So I did 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. Now here I'm gonna do the opposite. Going up, I'm gonna do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. And then when I'm going down, I'm gonna do what I did going up with the right hand. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? And then when you're gonna combine this, at first this is what's gonna feel hard because each hand is gonna be doing something different, a different fingering. So it would, right? And then you're gonna do the same way when you're practicing your technique. You're gonna do the same thing. At first, you make sure you get it clean, right, as clean as you can. And then once you get comfortable, you start getting it at higher speed. So one way that I learned to practice my scale. By the way, it's been such a long time since I practiced my scales. But I'm gonna try my best. I'm gonna take it slow. So let's do 50 beats per minute. Hopefully, I don't mess it up. So, at first, I start with quarter note. Okay, let me just say it in a way that everybody will understand. I do one note per beat, and then I do two notes per beat, and then I do three notes per beat, and then I do four notes per beat. So, for the one note per beat, I don't only do one octave. For two beats, I do two octaves. For three beats, I do three octaves, and for four beats, I do four octaves. So let me start low. So I do. I'm doing it super slow so I can focus on accuracy and timing. And then second time I go. Two notes per beat, and then I do two octaves as well. And then triplets. Okay, so that's the point. So at first I do one note per beat. I do just one octave. I do two notes per beat. I do two octaves, and then I do three notes per beat. I do three octaves, and then I do four notes per beat. I do four octaves. But when it's fast, it's super hard, right? It can get super hard. You get it as fast as you can. I don't remember what my type speed was on that, because listen, it feels awkward now because I haven't practiced those in so long. And by the way, one thing I've noticed that's just outside of the what we're trying to talk about. For me, at first, C was the first one I learned. It was the easiest key for me at first. But when I started getting into a lot of the different keys, I noticed C actually became the hardest. I don't know why, if it's actually the hardest or if it just because I probably didn't practice it as much anymore. But because all the notes are so similar, it became a little confusing for me to know when I do the passing and when I don't. For example, if I'm doing a C sharp, it's obvious because I know when I'm leaving a black note, that's when I do a passing, right? I don't even need to think about it. But I don't know. You get the point. But anyways, so now next thing, that same exercise you just did on C, now you're gonna do it on all the keys, right? Now you're gonna do it on D, and then you're gonna do it on E. Yeah. By the way, it's very cold, so my fingers are stiff. So forgive my technique. F, G, A, and then B. And then the black notes, I have D flat, which I just did. And then E flat. And then F sharp. And then I have A flat. And then B flat. Right? And then you learn it with the left hand as well. And then you learn it with both hands, doing it with both hands, right? So that would be your major. And then obviously once you master your major scales, that's when you would be moving on to different scales like minor. In minors we have different minor scales. One, we have natural minor, which is basically the same thing as a major scales, just starting on the sixth. And then you have harmonic minor, which has a sharp 7, right? And then you have the melodic minor. I think it starts with, I don't know, it goes up like this. That's what I was told. I was told you go up different from the way you go down. So you go up like this, it has a sharp 6 and a sharp 7, and you go down as a natural. I've practiced this scale in a long time. I don't think I've ever used it once yet in my life. But anyways, the harmonic minor, you're gonna use that a lot more often, and then I guess it's probably gonna be the natural minor. And then you would have scales like which is the blues scales, which is kind of a pentatonic scale. That's the minor pentatonic. And then you have the major pentatonic. What else? And then there's plenty of different scales that you would be practicing. So you get the point. You would basically be practicing scales. Okay, so that's the vocabulary part. Now the next section. Oh, no. We're not done with vocabulary. Vocabulary, you also have chords, right? You would start with your major chords. You practice them on all 12 keys. and making sure that you can get them clean. By the way, you also practice that with a metronome, right? And you would do the same for your minor chords. Right? And then you would do the same for your diminished. And then you would do the same for your augmented. So basically, those four are the basis of every other chord you know, which means if you want to master your chords in general, you have to first master your triad. What triad means is a chord with 3 notes. So these are triads. We have 4 triads. We have major, minor, diminished, and augmented. So my bad. I don't really practice augmented much, so I'm probably not gonna be as comfortable. Okay. So, and then now coming from notes with 3 chords, you're gonna start practicing chords with from chords with 3 notes, you're gonna start practicing chords with 4 notes. Now we're gonna start with the majors. Majors first, we have I guess the main ones you would have would be a major 7 and a dominant 7, which is called just a 7 chord, right? 7 and major 7. So you have these two mainly. So now major 7 would be just like the major, right? You could just finish a song there, like right. Yeah, you could start a song there, right? You could use it just like you would use a regular major, right? Most of the time. But for dominant, man, that's the chord that's probably gonna take you the longest to learn, because there's so many different variants of dominance, and it's such a beautiful thing to explore dominance, because that's gonna be the basis of all of your passing chords, right? So basically, if I play this, it's screaming for you to resolve it on a different chord, right? Which is basically gonna be the 4th, right? Right. If I play this dominant here, it's asking me to be resolved. So right? Or let's say I do this. It's screaming for being resolved, right? I can't. It's not a resolve chord. It's a passing chord, right? It's leading me somewhere else, which is to the 4th, the 4th dimension. All right. Okay. What else? So for my minor chords, this is called major minor or minor major 7. But I've almost never heard anyone use it intentionally. Maybe as you playing, or the melody might be this. It might. It sounds very dissonant. I've barely heard people use that, but it's mainly minor 7, right? That's not a passing chord, by the way. Just like you have the major 7 as a resolved chord. Right? You can use the same as a major. Same thing with minor 7. It's a resolve chord that you can use on a minor. that's a minor 7. Right? Anyway, so um what else? So now my next would be diminished 7, which is a passing chord too. A lot of the time, I guess it's considered almost as a um as a form of dominant, right? Sometimes it's considered as a form of dominant. Because if I have I can't tell you on this. Yeah. If I have this, it's a dominant 7 flat 5. If I have the D here on top, I mean on the bottom as my root, or just dominant, right? So it's a form of dominant, because here that dominant, it's almost like a rootless dominant, okay? But it's so important for you to practice your diminished. They say there's only 3 diminished chords, and everything else is just inversions. Right? For example, I have C diminished here. It's gonna be the same as E flat diminished, the same notes. Gonna be the same as F sharp diminished. Gonna be the same as A diminished. Right? It's just like the inversions. And then I'm gonna have this one, and then this one. I was at, and then the next one is just gonna be the inversion of the same C that I had before. So there's only three diminished chords. Okay, and then augmented. A lot of the time I guess augmented 7. Wait. Okay, so I guess C augmented 7. I never thought of that. Okay, so I have augmented 7. A lot of the time I use it that way. Anyways, but hey, there's augmented 7 too. I never like really practice that alone, but sometimes I use it without realizing. But anyways, and then a lot of your different and also for minor, we have minor 7 flat 5, which is also very used, especially in 251s, 251 minors, right? So it's a minor 7, and then the 5 is flat, minor 7 flat 5. Other than that, hey, if you have these chords down, you basically have a strong foundation. You can do a lot of things. And by the way, just to give you a few ideas on different dominant, listen, you see this dominant here? I have the dominant on my left hand. Once I have this dominant locked down on my left hand, anything I do with my right hand, I'm still gonna have a dominant chord. And that's one way for you to explore different dominants. For example, I do a C on my right hand. I have C dominant. I do this. So that's a dominant. That sounds nice. So, so I could. So I could resolve it like this. So this is a dominant. That's a nice one too. So this I use it a lot, I think. Yeah, we had this. That's a dominant. That's a dominant. Any major chord you play on top. So Let me see if I can do. So, so can be resolved like that. All right, that's a dominant too. Although I haven't really, I'm not getting any inspiration from it, but hey, it's a dominant. Anyways, but yeah, and guess what? The same way you can use any major chord on top, you can use any minor chord on top too. You can use any minor chord, right? So, so all of these are there's infinite amounts of dominance, right? And guess what? You can use suspended chords like these. That's the one I use a lot, right? You can use this. That's a suspended. So, right? Right? And what else? I'm not even gonna waste your time because there's so many dominants. It's impossible to. I'm not gonna say it's impossible, but you can't really exhaust dominance. It's cool, and plus that same dominant, depending on how you resolve it or how you get there, it has a different feeling. So bottom line is the more stuff, the more chords you have in your vocabulary, the more different way you can interpret whatever you're feeling or whatever you're hearing. Just like language, right? The more words you have, the more different ways you can express yourself. It's the same. It's the same here. So now, next is ear training. We're not gonna spend a lot of time on that. It's obviously learning song. That's the way you train your ear. To you try to transcribe songs, right? You hear something, you try to listen to it and replicate it. And now with YouTube, you can even see the fingers of the person, right? Or even in that case, you can even see not just my fingers, you can see the notes displayed. So it's a lot easier than when it was like 20, 30 years ago, which when 30 years ago, I was not even born yet. But you get the point. It's a lot easier now to transcribe things and develop your ear and learn songs. And then one thing, I'm I have to say this. You don't really know a song until you can transcribe it on a different key. I know a lot of you are gonna throw rocks and stone at me, but hey, if you learn one of my songs that I play, you play it exactly the same way that I play on C, to really show, to really prove to yourself that you understand what I did and you're not just a copycat, you should at least be able to play that on two or three more keys, right? Okay? So I just wanted to throw that out there. So don't just learn something on one key and then be slave of that key, or just remember. Then you only developing your memory. I mean, ear training is kind of memory too. But anyways, you get the point. Make sure when you learn something, you try to learn it on different key. That's all I'm gonna say. And then the last part, which is the creativity, which is the part that I need to work a lot on, is Um, I mean, I'm not that bad, but I could have been a lot better if I took like the time to actually work on it. The way you do that is by sitting alone and creating stuff, right? Creativity. So you create stuff. You don't just practice the song that you heard, but you are practicing something that you feel, right? Let's say, for example, you pick two or three chords. I mean, sometimes when I'm practicing with the dominant scale, I can pick two chords. Let's say 1 and 4, and then I'm just going up and down the blues scales, right? So 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 anyway, that was horrible. But anyways, just to give you an idea. So the point was I was not thinking of any melody. I just gave myself this how should I say that? This foundation, this line, I draw this line for myself, which is the blues scales, and I'm just playing random notes on the blues scales. I'm not even playing something that I heard before, right? I'm just playing random things, and sometimes it can be so. So that's the minor scales. Yeah, that was a lot better than the blues. But anyways, and you can do the same thing with major scale. Anyways, it's just that's the part where music really, that's the part when you get to it, you know that you start to feel music. You're not just copycatting, you're not just copying and copying, you starting to express what you feel, right? If you're feeling right. So there's plenty of different kinds of feel, kinds of rhythm, kinds of genres. So compa, uh, and solo compa, whatever. Hey, do you what you like, what you feel, and then that's it. That's all for today. I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe, to like, and reach out if you need me, if you need anything. Um, I'll see you in the next one. Wonder what you know in the blood.